Hey guys, it's Monica at Academic Phoenix Plus, and welcome to the next tutorial on creating a simple character rig. In the previous tutorials, we've created the legs and we also created the spine. Now we're going to go ahead and create the arms. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so one thing I forgot about the previous tutorial was that I didn't rename all of these joints. So I really want to make sure that I select these joints 1 through 6. And let's go ahead and go to Modify, Search and Replace. And what I'm going to replace is joint with spine joint. Or actually, you can just write spine. And then you replace. And then you're going to get, and now we just need the J and T at the end. All right, old-fashioned way. Boom. Oh boy. Let me copy this, J and T, and then paste. Okay, moving on, let's go ahead and work on the arms. So I'm going to go to the front view. And we're going to go to create joints, skeleton create joints. And I want to click one as close as I can to the shoulder. So you want to just make sure that's in the middle of the shoulder where it would be. You might want to turn on the wireframe to see if you can find the elbow. So this is going to be the elbow and then the wrist. And then when you're done, press enter. These look a little big for me, but let's go ahead down here, click shift and that little plus sign. And this is going to be the shoulder joint. This is going to be the wild guess, elbow joint. And another wild guess, wrist joint. Yep, it's tough. Very, very tough. All right, so again, we always want to make sure that this is actually placed correctly in our scene if we're lucky, and it's not. But we always want to make sure that we place it in the scene and make sure that it fits correctly in our character. Now, it is straight, right, the joints? So let's go ahead and place it here, but sometimes we will have to rotate it just a little bit, or even translate it if we need to make sure that it fits in the geometry. The important part is that the joints are actually inside the mesh, or particularly that center point right here, that needs to be inside the mesh. That's where the major influence is. Okay, I'm going to select these and then again, just delete everything, freeze the transformations, all that stuff. And then we are going to always reorient the joints just because I did make a tiny little bit of movement. I'm going to select these again and I'm going to go to 0.25 just so it's a little bit smaller. And cool. All right, moving on. Usually I am going to go ahead and do the hands. The hands are part of the whole arm on the right side and the left side. So I want to make sure I have those before I mirror it over. So this one's going to be fun. Let's go ahead and, go to the top view. Click on this little guy right there. Okay. So what we're going to do is double click on this, and I really want my radius to be a little bit smaller. So probably around 0.2. So I'm going to click on this guy right here and then put one right in the middle of the hand. And this is huge. So I'm going to, oops, that's too big. Let's put it, maybe 0.1 would be better. Yeah, 0.1 is better. Okay. So this one's going to be basically the hand joint. I'm going to double click on this again because I want to change my bone radius to 0.1. All right. And I'm going to start off with the middle finger. So click on this guy right there. I already have it selected. Click on the knuckle. Again, it's getting really big, so I'm going to have to shrink them even smaller. Let me click that again and change it to 0.05. I just want to make sure I see it through the geometry. And then I'm going to click on the joint, and then at the very, very tip. So this is going to be important because this is going to be our hands. So this one is the middle finger. So I'm going to just call this middle finger joint. And then I'm going to just copy this and just replace. There. And I might as well just be consistent and type in the word 1. So now I have joints. So I'm going to continue doing that with the other fingers. Here, knuckle, tip. This one I believe is the index. Now it's going to start looking a little busy because of all the joints, but remember this is just important. Let's go ahead and do the faster way and go to search and replace name. This is going to be replace joint with index, or people call it ring. And then I'm going to slide it in there. Whoops, I just need joint. JNT underscore joint, 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 and joint. Great. All right, moving on. Same story here. 1, 2, 3. Oops. Now this is an issue because it actually created a joint outside of the chain, which I didn't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. I have to make sure that I select this joint here. There he goes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is a little part of what makes it a little bit meticulous, but you know, it works. Joint, and this is going to be point. All right, and finally we're going to do the pinky. Now the pinky, what's interesting about the pinky and the thumb is that they actually have more movement than the other fingers. So we have to compensate for that. So click on this big joint, put one random joint over here that's going to help flex and create like a cup with your finger and with your thumb and your pinky. And then same story, knuckle, pinky, pinky, tip. Search and replace. Pinky. All right, let's squeeze in the joint, joint, joint. I could be doing this a lot more efficient, but oh well, you guys can do a better job than I am. Okay, cool. Let's do the thumb. Again, we just want one in the middle. Knuckle, knuckle, tip. All right. Oops, did it again. Let's go ahead and delete that. Got to make sure that I click on this particular joint right there. There you go. 1, 2, 2, 2. And this one is called the thumb. Great. There we go. That's better. Thumb joint. Boom. All right. So we have basically our joints. Let's go to object mode. Now, this is where you're going to be like, whoa, we did all that work and this looks crazy. You're right. We're going to have to kind of tweak a couple of things. So let's go ahead, and you'll also notice that the fingers are super small. So this might not have been the best angle to do this with, but that doesn't mean that all the work that we did goes to waste. So that means that we're just going to have to finagle a couple of joints. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Maybe in this angle might be better. And we're just going to move them. So let's go ahead and grab these guys like, oops, this one belongs here. And I'm just going to start placing them where I think they fit best. Remember, if you want to move the joint without moving the other ones, hold down D. D, don't make me a liar. There we go. And you're looking for the knuckle, the mesh for the knuckle. So that's going to be really important. All right, so here's one knuckle. Here's the other knuckle. One over here, and then finally the tip. And if you feel like this needs to be moved, you can just move it. So same story here. And then the tip should be just outside of, it's literally just to guide the other one. Hold down D and move it. And then one more. Let's move this one, this one, this one, and then finally this one. All right, let's grab this one, goes here. Let's move them all down. And yes, the thumb doesn't get that many joints because it actually doesn't have all of them. If you take a look at your own thumb, but we still need to make sure that it's got enough flexibility. All right, let's see what that looks like. It's looking a little better. We still need to make sure that it's actually inside the hand. So let me Start rotating a couple of things. And this is when I actually turn this off. This helps me see if my joints are actually inside the mesh as I rotate and maybe scale these guys out. And don't worry, I'm going to freeze the transformations in a minute. But as long as these guys are actually in the mesh, I'm going to be okay. So you have to kind of individually look at them, kind of place them. Might help with a little bit of this if they had the thumbs. Looks like they're okay. And this has to be out there. All right, it's coming along. These could probably be a little lower. This one too. Okay, that's the tip. D. I feel like I'm missing something here. Let me turn this back. Whoops, not that one. This one. Oh yeah, this one should be way over here. Okay, cool. Again, it's a little tedious, but it's important. Scale this up a little bit, maybe this one too. Let's move this one closer to the actual knuckles. And this one looks okay. Whoa. Let's move this one back up. Maybe rotate it down too. And let's go ahead and take a look at it without the X-ray. So I can just make sure that it's in the right place. Rotate this one. Rotate this. Ooh, be careful. Okay, and the thumb looks actually pretty good. So as long as the joints are inside, whoops, that's going to be really important. So this one's definitely not inside, right? So we want to make sure that's actually inside the mesh. These guys I'm not too worried about because they're just pointy joints, like they actually just guide the other one, but all right, that should do it. Yep, looks okay. I'm just making sure they're actually on the knuckles. One more time, take a look, make sure they're in the mesh. And again, it's not the full joint, it's just the inside of that joint. All right, great. Let's go ahead and turn all this off, turn this back on. And what we're gonna do is select the joint chain. Then we're gonna center the pivot, doesn't do anything, delete the history, freeze the transformations. That's gonna actually help with the rotations. So now there's no more rotations or scale. And then again, we really want to make sure that we reorient the joints. So let's go ahead and orient the joint. And I didn't get any errors, so that means that everything's probably pointing to the right direction when I click on it. Yep, so they're all pointing to each other. And now we have the joints. Great. All right, now that we have that, let's save. And very similar to what we did with the spine, this is basically going to be FK. That means that I can move the arm around starting from the parent and then the child follows, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and grab another curve. Again, you're more than welcome to do anything you like, but I'm going to go ahead and grab a curve, and this one I'm going to kind of make sure that it sticks out a little bit and just make sure that it's actually inside the joint. That's going to be really important. So if you hold down V and middle mouse, you should be able to snap it inside there. And now you can tweak it if you need to. So something like this. If you feel that it needs a different shape, for example, maybe you want to just grab all these controls. Again, you got to get rid of the joints so they can't be selected. You can actually kind of, some people like to put it out here. So people just grab them over here. And of course, you can also shape it. There's a million ways to shape this. So if you want to, you can just shape it a little bit. But also make sure that it makes sense. Right? So maybe a little bit of a shape is going to help make it look like it's organic. Right? So maybe if you shape it a little bit like this. So I'm always working on it in control vertex because when I select this, the pivot point still remains where it's at, which is important. So I'm going to just make it slightly bigger so it's going to be easier to select for the animators and just make sure that it's maybe a little bit forward. And okay. Next, let's do one for the arm. And then we'll do another one for the wrist. This one you can have a little fun with if you want to. Again, there's no right or wrong. Well, there is a wrong. If it's confusing, make sure that, you know, it makes sense, okay? This one's maybe too big. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and select these guys. I'm not centering the pivot, but deleting and freezing the transformations. And we're going to label these. This is going to be the left shoulder control. This is going to be the left elbow control. And this is going to be a little big, but let me delete that. This is going to be the left wrist control. All right. Now, before we do the constraining, we need to mirror this object, these joints to the other side. So selecting your object or your joints, you're going to go to skeleton mirror joints. And there we go. And then we also want to grab these guys. And usually what I do to flip something over, I group them. Control G. Then I change the scale to a -1 on the scale Y. Then I delete the history and all that stuff. And then I'm going to replace, search and replace L underscore with R underscore, replace. And then unparent them, Shift P, because I don't need that group. It's an empty group. So now they are exactly in the same location as this. Now I did mess up on the shoulder joint, so let me delete this one because what I wanted to do was do modify prefix, which is going to be L underscore. So now all of them are called L, 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 all the way down. And then under skeleton mirror joint, let's go to the options and same thing, L underscore R underscore mirror it. And then we've got the right shoulder, which is great. And then somewhere I lost my controls on the other side. So I think I know what I did. Group, duplicate, -1. And let's see, this is my R, R, R. And then over here is going to be my L, L, L. All right, so select all the controllers, Shift P, select these as well, Shift P, and then you can delete these. And of course, you can always, again, don't center the pivot, freeze the transformations, all that stuff. Cool. And the pivot should still be in the joints. Good. Okay. moving on, we're going to go ahead and start doing what we always do, which is shift select the child or the parent, shift select the child, then constraint parent. Select these two. I'm going to click on the letter G to make it a little faster, and then G. So what's going to happen is that if I select the shoulder, I can actually rotate it. Now, again, we're getting stuck. So we need to make this a child of that. So select the child, then the parent, and click P. This is just parenting. Select the child. It's not constraining, it's parenting. So select the child, select the parent, P. So now when I move this, all of them move along as well. Whee! Neat. Okay. We're going to do the same thing. Select the wrist, shift select this one, and click P. Select the elbow control, then the shoulder control, and then click the letter P. So again, we're going to get that effect. Whee! And now we're going to do the constraining. So select the controller, shift select the joint, constraint parent. Select the controller, shift select this one, G, which is the last command. Select the wrist joint, and then G. And now if I move this around, you guys should get this result. There you go. All right. That is the basics of how to create your arms. We created all the joints that we need. We also we placed all the controllers, and then we constrained them and all that fun stuff. The next tutorial is going to be how to control the hands. So that's going to be next. So I'll see you in the next tutorial. But again, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also click on the little bell so you don't miss any type of updates. And also take a look at academicphoenixplus.com. That is my personal website. You can subscribe to my newsletter where you can get updates and find out what's going on with the channel and myself and everything else. So again, take a look at academicphoenixplus.com. Let me know if you guys have any questions at all. And of course, always keep creating, and I will see you next time.